Hello, my name is Brianna Romero, and I will be sharing you the events that occurred in 1923 in Rosewood, Florida. So, on January 1st, 1923, new goals, some new beginnings, and some new goals were on the way for Rosewood, Florida residents. But knocking on their doorstep, another massacre would occur in their hometown. I'm here to take you through the thriving start of Rosewood and the horrific end to a prosperous Black community. The town of Rosewood quickly began as it quickly fell. Dating back to 1847, it developed very quickly. By 1861, a school named Roseville had popped up, as well as a railroad depot that was constructed because of the prosperous cedar and citrus shipments that were going on in Cedar Key, the neighboring town. Rosewood then became connected to the growth of Cedar Key, being the largest Florida Gulf Coast port, with cedar trees being located all throughout Rosewood. They took advantage of this and began pencil mills and started cutting down all these trees for production. Eventually, the pencil mills, though, had to close down and leave because they had used up all of their resources in that town. So after this, white residents would leave and go up north into neighboring other towns, one like Sumner. Rosewood, Florida then became a prosperous Black community with a population of 355, with a company that was owned by a Black man and had taken charge of the pine trees and really created many jobs for people and the townsmen. They ended up having 3 churches, a railroad station, 2 general stores, and a traveling baseball team in the town. And all was going well for Rosewood at this point, even with the outstanding number of events that were going on with race riots and racial injustice throughout the nation. It still was a very well-rounded community. But on January 1st, 1923, a woman named Fannie Taylor went to her husband and claimed that she had been raped that morning by a Black man, with no details or a face. James Taylor, her husband, gathered other white residents in the neighboring towns and in their town of Levy County. They discovered that it may be a man by the name of Jesse Hunter. He was a fugitive that had escaped a nearby prison or jail, and they assumed that it must be this man. So with bloodhounds tracing a scent back to a man named Aaron Carrier, who lived in Rosewood, Florida, this brought the dreadful events that occurred. So because of the fact that the bloodhound traced these scents to Aaron Carrier, he became a main target, and so did his family. They believe that he helped with his escape and hiding from this awful incident that Fannie Taylor was claiming occurred. Soon thereafter, Rosewood would be under fire by many white residents in the neighboring towns, and many days afterwards, multiple men and women were caught in this crossfire. January 3rd, Aaron Carrier was put under protective custody by a sheriff who knew that these mobsters were out for blood. That same afternoon, a Black man named Sam Carter was tortured, killed, and hung for all to see because he was on his way home, and they had assumed that he had just gotten back from hiding Jesse Hunter's. January 4th, Sylvester Carrier was home with his mother and children when a group of 20 to 30 men came to his home and shot bullets all throughout his home. Him protecting his mother and the children above. Unfortunately, he passed away, and so did his mother. The unknown date, though, is either January 4th or the next day. January 5th, 200 to 300 whites gathered to burn down every building in Rosewood. And that weekend, they would also finish the job. The reparations of Rosewood did not come shortly, though, after this incident. More than 70 years later, the Florida legislature opened this case back up to see what they could do about the devastation. In the 1990s, the devastation of Rosewood was very unclear to many, but in many, it was also a memory that was buried in their minds of those who survived it. The Florida legislature debated over whether or not to award reparations to the victims and their families. That took place so long ago. So they ended up awarding the families $2.1 million in reparations. It's an event that will never be forgotten in our hearts, but never be forgotten for the future's sake. The events in Rosewood were horrific, but shows a piece of Florida's history that should be never forgotten. Thank you.